I was live, waiting for the people to come in there, Lydia and Gordon and Aussie. My phone ran out of power when I was out on the road, so I had to walk home. There somebody is. There's Gordon. There I am. Yeah, my phone died. I had to come home and plug it in and start it back up to at least tell you and maybe Lydia if she pops back on that I'm alive. They didn't come and kill me. I have 1% on my phone right now. Yeah, I love to answer the questions. I love to be out there. I didn't expect to do a live or do anything. I only had whatever I had on my phone until it died. That was what, 50 or maybe an hour or something it was out there. One of these times I'm going to have Lydia on here and I'm just going to book it through the woods. Any place she says she sees one, I'm going to go there. What are you doing, cat? Moron. I tend to catch the ones that like at the very end of when D is working, she'll either swing the flashlight out and then back because she doesn't swing the flashlight where she's looking, or she'll do that to the camera, swing it off to the side like this, and then back real quick. And that's when I seem to catch shapes and things. I catch when places where she's not looking or movement. Every once in a while, D will see something with her eyes that we can't see with the camera, but normally we see it with the camera where she can't see it with her eyes. And even though she's looking in her own camera, she can't see it, but we can. And that voice that she's been picking up, we're hearing it as an EVP. She can't hear that at all. I need to trim my beard. The corner of it is in my mouth. A little over a year ago, I said, I'm not going to cut my hair or trim my beard until I retire. Well, I retired a month and a half ago and I still haven't done any of it. Now I have to try to figure out why, if I do this, it says orientation is locked, rotate device back. Okay. Now I can see myself sideways, but I'm not sure what you're seeing. I can still see myself up and down. Am I sideways on your phone? So it's locked in this position right here. And if I flip it, you're only going to see the wall. So that doesn't help. Let's see, green screen, lighting, close. Now before I actually start the video, on this little pull down bar is a thing that says orientation, and I flipped it to horizontal orientation, but it still only lets me take videos in this configuration. It will not let me do widescreen mode. So I'll do this and I popped off of there for a second. I'm trying to goof with my yeah, I love being retired. That's the best thing ever. I haven't stopped working every single day. Oh yeah, I'll be back. I'll be back to do investigations with Dee. But it takes me 8.5 hours to drive to her neck of the woods. And I'm about to move 9.5 hours further away from her. So I would have to drive to Bangor, fly to Cincinnati, and rent a car if I'm going to go out with her after I move to Maine. And I will. It won't stop me. It'll be cheaper for me to fly there and rent a car than it would be for me to drive right now, especially. I tried to lock the screen in horizontal before I started the live, and it still will only let me do this. And I just tried to pull the screen down, but it cut you guys off, so I'll figure it out. Maybe I'm just turning the, because when I do this, it says orientation is locked, rotate device back. But it's locked in horizontal, and this is vertical, so it's crazy. I like to go investigating with Dee too. But she books it through the woods. I think I'm fast and I shine the camera everywhere and I don't stop walking, but she just like runs through the woods comparatively. She's like, keep up, keep up. But basically, when I investigate with her, I just let her get far enough ahead of me so that I don't necessarily bother things, and they can see me in the background, but they're not bothered by me. Yeah, I know. It's just like when David's there, she's very much braver when somebody's with her. She also knows that I'm completely fearless and that I'm not going to run. She doesn't like to go out there with people that uh, may just take off running through the woods. I mean, a lot of these people say, "Oh, I'd love to go investigating with you," but if you saw eyes or if you saw movement like she does when she's out there, and we all know that the phone makes things look further away than they really are. So when we see that stuff on the phone and she's not zoomed in, that stuff is twice as close to her than what we see. And she knows that if it was just any other normal person, they would take off running. And then you might get the fight or flight thing, and you may trigger the predatory mode in like a DM or something. But that would or could, I guess, be bad. Not that a lot of people go missing out there, but you don't want to be chased. Yeah, I would definitely go towards any noise. If I saw when she saw the eyes that caused her to go on her knees and beg for her to let it her go past it. No. Ralph would have walked right straight towards it just to see if the eyes would stay there. If it would let me walk up close enough to actually see its body. I wouldn't I wouldn't run up to it, but I would definitely get closer unless it acted aggressive. She always asks me when I go out there, don't don't run in there. If we see one, don't go running in there and scare them because I don't want them to be afraid of me. No, I would not run in there and make them scared. Number one, I've had a hip replacement, so I can't run anyway. I can't run to them or away from them. But I would walk closer unless they acted aggressive. If they acted timid, like they're going to run away, then I would stop also. I don't want to scare them. I don't think those are Bigfoot. Those are not Bigfoot crawling around on her roof and scratching the side of her house or any of that. That's Dogman and those white aliens, I believe. We see that black-faced Dogman, the one that followed her out into the field at Dogman Rock ages ago when it walked right out into the field like that. Um, I think that's what she calls Mikel. But there's another thing, and I don't know if Mikel can go from a humanoid looking black furred creature to actually a wolf man that has the big ears. But we catch that wolf man with the big long ears, the one that smiles, does this with its teeth. That's not Mikel. That's not what followed her out into the field. I think that's the one that smiles, I think, is what we would call a werewolf. It's something that's like half wolf, half person. And a dog man is different than that. They have a rounded head. They have smaller ears, but they're completely covered in fur, and they look like a skinny Bigfoot. But she's whatever that like Asian-eyed looking creature was that was stalking her down the side of the road. Remember, it was after the possum at first. Then it crossed the road and came down the side of the road where she was. Yeah, I think the last time she saw it, it did wave to her. I don't know if it was saying hi or goodbye, but she hasn't seen uh, what we're calling Mikal. She hasn't actually seen him since then. What we're seeing now is something that has a pronounced wolf face, smiles with its teeth, and big pointy ears. That wasn't what she was calling Mikal before. But now we've seen at the Cryptid Ranch, which is the barn, at the barn, we've seen the white crawly things. We've heard things call to her, please help me, come here. Don't ever do that. Don't go to them. They will lure you to some place where you can't get out of. Yeah, that was a big boy, the one that followed her out to her truck last time. That was definitely a Bigfoot. No doubt about that one. And I know she has Bigfoot stalkers too. Those the female that had the baby on its back when it walked in front of the window of the ranger station. I believe that one when she goes to that park, that female definitely follows her around. I believe that um, that female was not afraid to be that close with its baby and all that. So that female likes her. And the one that was in the fog when she was walking her dogs and she saw that one in the fog doing something, whether it was looking for food under that log or whatever it was doing out there, that one's not afraid of her either. Yeah, the cryptid ranch is what she calls the barn. Now she goes down to the end of that barn road. There's a turnaround there and a parking area, and she walks out across the bridge. That bridge, if you watch my video, the one that I walk around that barn and I walk way the hell out further than she's ever walked. And I did a day walk all the way around the open fields around that barn. I went down to that stream below the bridge and I saw dogmen prints in the water. But I believe that that bridge is part of a portal. Under that bridge is a portal because last time uh, that dogman or that very small Bigfoot came up that thing and we saw him on just this end of the bridge. At the side of the bridge, it kind of like leaned out and stood up, and then it kind of ducked back down a little bit, but you could still see him. That bridge, I think, is a portal underneath that because she's seen that Asian eyed Black Panther looking thing that was after the possum there. She's seen the white crawly, whatever that thing is. She's seen dogmen. What isn't there, though, is Bigfoot. And I did not find any Bigfoot stuff when I did that walk around. But it's super. I don't know if you ever have the chance, and I know you guys are in Australia, but if you ever have the chance to go to a place where you've watched somebody over and over and over again um, on a video. It doesn't have to be Bigfoot hunting, but if you watch someplace in Australia you've never been, and you watch somebody that um, does camping gear, they go out camping and they have all this different gear that people have sent them to try it out and stuff, and you just keep seeing this area over and over again, and then you actually go there. It's very weird. When I went to the place that where Dogman Rock is, and I saw that place for the first time, and it wasn't on a video. It was very odd. It was like I was in a different dimension or something. And one of the things that really gets me is Dee loves it. She loves the adrenaline rush, and she loves looking for them, and she's becoming less and less scared because they haven't actually like done anything to her or tried to really scare her too much, because uh, where she went with Bear to that dilapidated barn and they were shaking the trees and all that stuff, she wasn't scared until she realized that she had seen an apparition, that she had actually seen a ghost or something. And then that board came up in front of the window. And she did not like that barn because paranormal scares her more than the cryptids do. And I think that's pretty much why she went away from doing paranormal investigations. Like you see her sitting in her truck next to that graveyard where it said that the wolf from hell, the werewolf from hell, that graveyard that she sits next to and watches the corner of it to see if that whatever that is will come back out. She used to go out in that graveyard and do EVPs and stuff. She does not do that anymore. I think the paranormal scares her a lot more than the cryptids do. Out of all the people that we see every time Dee goes live, out of all the people that you see, what percentage of those people do you think would actually walk down their own road at night without a flashlight on, let alone go in the woods, and definitely go in the woods where there were no other people? What percentage of those people you think would actually do that? Yeah, I agree. Probably none of them. When I first started doing my videos out back, I carried my friends because there are packs of coyotes that are 20 or 30 coyotes, and a pack that big would actually attack a human being if they were starving enough. They certainly harass you if not try to take you down. So I used to take my friends out there, but I don't anymore. I'm absolutely not afraid of it at all. It's like I tried to explain before that there's nothing in the woods at night that's not already there in the daytime. It's scarier at night, I guess, because you can't see as far, but whatever's out there is still out there in the day. I like question and answer, and I like to like here I am sitting in my chair, pointed at the ceiling with my face on it because my phone's only at 6%, even though it's plugged in now. You're not a chicken, Gordon. I guarantee you that if somehow or another you got over here to Ohio and Dee would take you out, uh, she gets a lot of stuff. She gets a lot of stuff at Dogman Rock. Same with you, Aussie. You'd go out there with her. Dogman Rock is not a scary place. It's a giant open field with about 150 yards up the side of a, it's not a mountain, it's a good big hill that's kind of a hogback. When you get to the top of it, it goes right straight back down the other side. And there's a big rock on top of it that she calls Dogman Rock. And she does get a lot of eye shine and movement and sounds. And we've actually seen Bigfoot walking. We've seen dogmen there. But it's a giant open field. And even with the lights off, you can see around in the woods. The phone can't, but you can see. The last time I was at Dogman Rock, I think it was the last time, I did a video there where I played one of Dee's videos on my uh, laptop, and I put that right on Dogman's Rock, and then I walked around doing my investigation with her voice in the background. And on the way out, I did get some activity. Something huge ran, and then like a 40-foot tall tree shook like it was a 80 mile an hour wind. Something tried to climb up in that tree. And there's, no way that was a deer that smashed into that tree that hard. Now, I've been trying, because the last time that she was up on Hollers Hill, remember when it scared her so bad she went on her knees? She said she would never go back there. And then I went out with her. It was me and David. We went out with her, and she said, "Where you want to go?" And of course, like, I'm going to make you go back to where you're afraid of, because I do not want you to be afraid. We're going to go back up Hollers Hill and go back out there and face your fears. And she went right out there, no problem. I would not force her to go back out on the other side of the road from where Hollers Hill is. She's went out there a few times, and every time she goes out there, she gets affected. And the last time, we called 911 and had people come and check on her, because we weren't sure she was going to get out of the woods that time. They mess with her over there big time. I wouldn't force her to go over there to face her fears ever again. That's not a place she should go. But if you remember a long time ago, kitty corner to that, it's still about a half a mile away, but if you take Howler's Hill and follow Howler's Hill and keep going and going and going and then cross a road, that's where she went, where they tried to block her in. Remember, they moved a tree across she went down into the little valley and they moved a tree across the actual path, like they were trying to block her in. She, for some reason, that place scares her. But she always got really good, really good experiences over there. But when they tried to block her in that time, and then when she left, that really big one just stood there staring at her for like 10 minutes, if you remember that. That place scares her, but she's never seen dogmen over there, only Bigfoot. But now she seems to go to the places that she knows where there's dogmen, and she avoids the places where she knows there's Bigfoot. If you're Yes, I think Bigfoot has a mind control ability, because they mess with my head. They definitely mess with my head and made me walk to the other end of the nursery from where I thought I was going. And in my woods, um, there are things called brown birch. I don't know if you have brown birch in Australia, but it's like a white birch, but it's brown, and we call it paper bark because it peels sideways, and you can actually just rip it off, and it looks like a brown sheet of paper. But those are pretty far and few between, but they're not, like unheard of. So they're in the woods sparsely, and I use those as um, waypoints for myself. So if I get lost and I see a brown birch, I immediately know where I am because I remember those. And I know how to get out from where I am when I see one. And I went to the whole other end of the nursery, and when I saw those three brown birch in a row, I knew where I was, and I was flabbergasted that I had walked all the way through some place where I had walked hundreds of times before and did not know where I was until I saw those birch trees. Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about, the paper bark trees. So, so they do mess with you, and they can make, if they can make you forget where you are and wander aimlessly away from where you thought you were going, they could make, it seems to me like they could make you walk out in front of a car. They could make you walk off a cliff. They could make you walk out into the water. Yes, my the nursery has a swamp right next to it, and across the street where I call the Dogman area, because I've only seen a Dogman track over there. I've never seen Bigfoot prints. But on that side of the road is another big swamp out in the trees out there. And they like swampy areas because, like I said, this time of the year in the springtime, there's leeks, there's swamp cabbage, and all kinds of edible things growing. And I don't think that their Bigfoot is carnivorous, um, that they don't eat meat as their primary source. That's just for extra protein. Yes, and they have helped her more times than what she is, because I talk to her a lot. They've helped her more times than she has shown on video. And actually, Mikel, or what we're thinking is Mikel, the dog man looking one with not pointy ears, but the rounded ear one that followed her out into the uh, at Dogman Rock, or followed her out into the field. That Dogman has actually like turned her around in the woods so that she could get out. The times that she's felt like she was lost. And I think that Mikkel has actually scared away some of the pointy-eared, what we're going to call a werewolf. Yeah, I would love to go with D to LBL, especially now that she's got a big thing to sleep in. I'd probably still sleep in my tent or my car, but at LBL they would not know D. That she's only been there once or twice. But the places that she goes are not very big state parks. Maybe 6 or 8 square miles. The one that has Dogman Rock is actually more like 40 square miles of actual space, but a lot of it is covered in water. There's two giant lakes covering all of that. LBL is someplace that I've always wanted to go anyway. But I think what scared her last time is, if you remember, the apparition she saw of the guy in the guy in the checkered shirt, like this one with blue jeans on. I don't have blue jeans on, but the guy in the checkered shirt with the hat, that walked through the woods right there. I think, like I said, I think she's more afraid of the paranormal than she had the cryptids, because that freaked her out when she saw that ghost. And I know she's going to LBL here shortly, but I'm doing so much, and now that I have this house I have to put up for sale in a hurry, because I leveraged this house to buy the one up in Maine. So now I have a $200,000 loan against this house that I'll have to start paying back if I don't sell this house and pay that off real quick. That'll be, a couple $1,000s a month. So I have to sell this one as fast as I can and move. And tomorrow I have the deck, the stuff I bought for the deck. I'm going to finish that off, and then I got to get a dumpster and clean out a couple of sheds, and then I'll be ready to move. So I have to get a real estate agent and sell this house as fast as I can. So I've been doing a lot of that. So I haven't been doing any traveling since I retired. I just been working on this house nonstop. And if you look up Maine, where I'm going to be living is called Jackman, Maine. It's way up north next to Canada. But not too far away is a place called Rangeley, and they have a Bigfoot festival there every year, because they get a lot of sightings there. But if I take 2 steps out of my little town, and my little town only has 880 people that live in it, and 2 steps out of there, I won't have any signal, because there's only one cell phone tower right in the middle of town, and that's it. So if you get more than 6 miles away from town, there's no such thing as a live there. I can do videos, but not lives outside of town there. And if there's any Bigfoot up there, they're completely feral, because it's nothing but thousands and thousands of acres of timberland where logging companies own that whole thing. So they'll take a square mile or 2 square miles and clear cut that whole thing and just let it grow up wild. 20 years later, 30 years later, they'll come and cut that whole area again. So it's like a patchwork quilt of scrubby trees, and sometimes you can see all the way across it, and sometimes they've, within a year or so, they've grown up 10 feet and you can't see out there anymore. And then there's patches of older forest and some bigger trees, but it's so dense that you can't walk out in there. You can only walk down the logging roads. So if I was to call out and see if a Bigfoot's gonna go and call back to me or anything like that, those are gonna be completely feral Bigfoot. They've never seen humans. They've only seen humans on tractors that cut all the trees down. That may upset them. I don't think Bigfoot have like permanent little huts or places where they stay. I think they move around because something that big is going to eat up all of the easily edible food in one spot. So they're going to have to migrate around and around. So it's hard for me to get myself to think that they are not animals. Because the ones that Dee sees and interacts with are always in the same spot. So either the government is feeding them, or they live in some other like dimension and they just come over here to play. Hi, Tina. It's always bothered me that the cryptids that, I mean, Dee gets a lot more evidence than I do, obviously. I know they're there, but to say that cryptids are not actual animals and that they don't have to worry about running out of food source and everything, they can stay in one spot and roam around in a small state park, and that there can be multiple of them there and not run out of food, just blows my mind. Yeah, Gordon, that would freak me out. Was it yell out, Kyle? I've always expected them to say Kyle back or to make a noise. And then, of course, I do the double whoop and whoop, whoop, like that. I'm always expecting them to do that back. The one time they did do it and I went off the trail looking for them, they screwed up my mind. But I'm always trying to get them to imitate me, and they do not. As only twice out of the whole thing have they ever imitated me or yelled back when I yelled, so that I purposely knew where they were or that they were out there. Only twice in the 4 years I've been looking for them here. Tina, over a year ago, a year before I retired, I was like, I'm not going to shave and I'm not going to cut my hair until I retire. Well, I retired a month and a half ago and I still haven't shaved or cut my hair, but I like it. Well, last summer I knew I was going to move. I had my heart set on going to Maine. So I didn't want them to get used to humans, and I didn't want them to get used to me, because then they would come closer to humans, and that whole thing could be a cascade failure for them. So I backed off last year, which is why I haven't done any lives and I haven't really done any videos, other than the fact that we had a very long winter this winter, and I never see footprints in the snow or any of that stuff. So I think they hightail it out of here. They only got to go like 30 miles south. They have to get away from Lake Ontario, and they won't have all of this snow to deal with. It keeps my face warm. It does. Now that it's getting to be 70 degrees outside every once in a while, it is hot. See, the WTF is wicked tasty fudge. I bought that in Maine, the little town that I am going to. The Jackman, Maine, has a ice cream parlor, and they have fudge in there too. I know out of all the people out there, I'm such a logical minded person that the first time I watched Dee looking for Bigfoot out there, I'm like, why are you walking around in the woods? Why are you walking around in the woods at nighttime all by yourself out there? You're just trying to scare yourself. And then I watched a few more videos, and then she got some eye shine. And, at first she didn't get the stuff she's getting now. They had to get used to her over the last couple of years. But she's definitely not your average person. She's a lot more like me than she thinks. She can't get herself to actually go towards something when she sees it, but she eventually will. Oh, I'll hunt for cryptids, but I don't want them to get used to me around here just in case Kyle just all of a sudden says, "Hey, if you give me a couple of ears of corn and maybe a rabbit or whatever, then I'll come have marshmallows with you one night, or I don't know, whatever." But I didn't want him to get so used to me, because I was trying to. I do remember white PVC pipe up against my house. Yeah, there was a PVC pipe, and my kayak leaned against my house last fall. I think that's when they were leaving. Um, because I'm sure that they migrate out of here because the winters are so harsh next to Lake Ontario. And the muddy fingerprints look like it slid down the side of the kayak. Yeah, that was quite something. To come home and see your kayak and a big piece of PVC pipe leaned against your house. Okay, Kyle, I yell Kyle because I just basically named every Bigfoot around here. No matter which one I see, it would be Kyle. I yell Kyle so that they know it's me. Nobody else is going to go in the woods and yell Kyle. They might hoot and holler and whoop or whistle or something, but nobody is going to yell for Kyle. So they know immediately that it's me, and that was the whole idea. Yep, when she first started, the tree knocks and things that she gets, and now she whacks the trees together and says, "Yeah, come on, make music with me," and whack, 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 and they do it back. That would have freaked her out in the beginning, and she would have booked it. Now the only time she gets scared is if they get too familiar and try to get really close to her. That freaks her out. I would have to say that it would take a lot to get them to get me to turn around and leave. The one video I did do, I was doing what I normally do and showing Dee's video actually up on the sheet there. And then the big howl on the other side of the swamp, that creeped me out. And then the howl down in where I called the No Woods. And then this one howled back again. Like, we don't have wolves in this part of New York, and coyotes don't howl like a wolf. So I was pretty sure that was a DM, and I walked out to my fire pit. I waited about 10 minutes, and then I came back in. But that was the only time that I actually walked out of the woods, and that was because I did not want to have to fight whatever that was. Not that I was afraid, but I wanted it to know that if it was going to do that, then I'm just going to leave, and I'll come back in a little while. Like, if you're going to make that big of a noise and say that this is your area, okay, I'll leave it to you for a little while, and I'll come back, because obviously I had to come and get my gear and stuff. But at that point, I was carrying my friends, and I did not want to have to shoot one. If it came over and tried to bluff charge me or whatever, and it came that close, even if it was just the DMs sent a bunch of coyotes in to try to scare me away, and I had to shoot some coyotes, because that would obviously stop all interaction right there. So I just left. I don't want to have to freak them out or shoot one or pick up a big stick and try to scare them. Where she has her bus parked, I'm not quite sure about that. They have followed her all over the place. They found out where she lives, and they found out where that somehow not only did they follow her bus, but I think they marked her car somehow. I don't know if it's scent or whatever they do, but she spends a lot of time there with her bus. Any place that she spends a lot of time at nighttime outside, they're going to show up. That black werewolf-looking thing with the ears that smiles, this guy, and Mikkel, they're going to show up any place she spends a lot of time at. And I'm not sure how they know they're there or how they get there so fast from wherever they are. But it's crazy how the same ones that she gets on videos find her wherever she goes. Because we've seen Mikkel in several of those different parks. So it must have a way of either using portals or something to get to where she is. We haven't actually seen, we've seen eye shine, but we haven't actually seen an actual creature where she parks her bus. But we have seen that there is something in her bus, that black figure that's inside of her bus. And sometimes I think that like Mikkel might be trying to protect her from whatever's in that bus. Now, Aussie, Dee is not an outdoor person. If you remember where she saw what looked like footprints walk from tree to tree and then disappear, when a squirrel in the wintertime jumps off of one tree into the snow, they spread their legs out like this so they don't sink so far down into the snow. So what she was seeing was a squirrel doing this, landing in the snow, jumping, landing in the snow, jumping, landing in the snow, and then climbing up the next tree. Those marks were very prominent to me because I've been in the woods my whole life. Hunted squirrels, hunting in the wintertime, and those were squirrel marks jumping from tree to tree. I showed her some after she had that video. I sent her some in my woods that, yep, these are what squirrels do when they wake up and they're hungry and the snow's a little bit too deep. They do that jump, jump, jump and climb up the next tree. And then they go along the trees for a while and then they get back in the snow. Yeah. Meekel, she spells it Meekel. Meekel is all black. It's a little bit lighter in the face, and it's got point like Spock ears. They come back here like this, but they're up near his head. That other thing that smiles has ears that come way up above its head. Totally different thing. Let me show you. You see that big ass screen right there? That's hooked. That there is hooked to my computer. And that's a 4K screen, and it shows everything in 3D. So sometimes I can stop something when I see it, like when a thing came out into the field after her, and I could take a still of that, like a screenshot, in 4K. That was not a human being of any kind. I don't believe that was a skinny Bigfoot. That was definitely a dog man. What if you're old enough like me, you will remember Lon Chaney. Lon Chaney used to play the dog man or not, the werewolf on all of the old werewolf movies. And he had a normal human face or human shaped face that was all hairy, even his nose and everything. And he had Spock like ears that came back just a little bit like this. And so I call it a Lon Chaney werewolf, is that's what a normal dog man looks like. But the werewolf type thing, the one that smiles, and you can see his white teeth in the front, and you can tell that the ears come like this, like that. I don't know what that is, and it could be Meekel. I don't know if they have the ability to shapeshift into something that's more wolf to move faster. But those two things in my head are not. One's Meekel, the one with the ears that pop back like this, and the other one is some type of a werewolf creature that follows her around and is happy to see her because it's smiling. All the times that she has put up videos of all of our stuff that we circle and everything, you have definitely seen the ones that I've sent her, because I don't do blob squatches, I don't do eye shine. When I show one, it's the actual thing. You're actually seeing the complete outline of it, or else I won't send it to her. I don't do just, okay, that's just darker than the rest of it. There's a blob there and that could be something. There's never a could be something when I send her something. It's a flat out, there's definitely something there. And I've put a couple things on the community page um, of the D's Dark Adventures 2. But when I put a 4K picture on the community page, it dumbs it down to like 480p and it looks blurry anyway. It doesn't stay crisp and clear like it does when I send it to her, because I send it to her in a instant message, and then she adds it to a video and it stays nice and clear. But when I put it on the community cage or community page, YouTube dumbs it down to 480p and it turns out to be like pixelated anyway. Yeah, the one that followed her back to her car, and then she saw it out of the corner of her eye, and she got it plainly sitting there in the middle of the open, and it was kind of like sitting on its back haunches, like sitting on the ground with its front legs up in the air, and it was smiling at her, the one with the pointy ears. Um, and then when it booked out into the woods and she turned around and ran back to her car, yeah, it scared her pretty bad because she's never blatantly seen one just sit there and stare at her like that out in the open. Seeing it out in the trees is one thing, but seeing it out in the middle of the open, and when we saw it, her phone was not zoomed in, so that thing was twice as close to her as what we thought it was. When we saw it, it looked like it was like 60 or 70 yards from her. That thing was only like 30 yards from her. It could have just sprinted and got to her before she could ever even turn around to get to the car. So, yeah, that scared her pretty bad. Now, this is something that I find interesting about D. And I don't know, there's 7 of you on there. D might be watching this to see if I'm going to badmouth her, but I'm not going to. um, do you remember the recent video where she was doing the Cryptid Ranch? She was in the parking lot. She went across that bridge, and then you saw that obvious dog man at the end of the bridge on the right hand side just stood up, standing there, and then it leaned out, and you could see half of its body, and then it leaned back in. Do you remember that video? And then she went back to her truck, and there was a black blobby thing that she could see in her phone, and then she pointed it away and pointed it back, and that black blobby thing was gone. Do you remember that video? Well, she didn't even mention the fact that there was a full on, easy to see dog man at the end of that bridge standing there. What scared her was the black blobby thing that disappeared when she looked back for it on her phone. She couldn't see it anymore. It had disappeared. So she was afraid of the black blobby thing that disappeared, but the actual dog man didn't affect her at all. She didn't even mention it. And that's one more thing that I makes me believe that she's way more afraid of the paranormal than she is of the cryptids. And I'm sure the one you were talking about was where she went to Holler's Hill. And then when she came back to her car and she was almost back to her car, there was something going through the brush near her, and then it stood up and then it jumped up. That scared her too, because it was being weird and startly, and I don't know if that thing was chasing mice or whatever that Bigfoot was doing right then. But when it jumped up out of the grass, that scared her a lot. Because it was doing stuff that is not normal for what she sees. Now that particular one was probably only 20 yards from her when it showed itself the first time. And when it jumped up out of the grass, or stood up and then jumped in the air, uh, that was maybe 25 or 30 yards from her. That would have caused me to book it over there, because I know that no matter how hard it tried, that grass is only like 3 feet tall and it's kind of sparse. If I booked it over there fast enough, I would have caught a full body shot of it trying to run away, because it couldn't have crawled away if I walked over there fast enough. That's not very far. 20 steps, 25 steps, and I'd have been there. And that would definitely have been one that I would have walked right over there and forced it to either stand up and run or try to scare me away. I'm pretty sure that particular one was after a mouse or a rabbit that was in the brush and didn't even care at all that Dee was standing there. It didn't bother him a bit. And another thing I want you to look for the next time, when Dee goes out with Bear, there's a different interaction between Dee and Bear than there is with Dee and David, or Dee and myself. There's a different interaction there. And if you remember, it was quite a long time ago where she went out near where they were having sexy time, where she out on that island, and she was with Bear, and they were out there, and that really big Bigfoot came walking down the path, and then it was facing away from them, and then it turned its head around and then leaned in towards the camera. Do you remember that? And it scared the crap out of her, and Bear didn't really see it. But there's something about her and Bear where the cryptids will actually still be close to her. They're not afraid of him at all. But when David or myself, when we go out with her, even though we stay quite a ways away from her, the cryptids don't really show up and they don't get close to her. And I think they can sense that we would absolutely die trying to save her from something, where I don't think Bear would. I think Bear would run away, and I think they know that. And our relationship with Dee is different than his, and I think they sense that, and then they don't really come that close. And I don't blame them at all for being afraid of a human male. I mean, we're not as big as them, we're not as strong as them, but we are the dominant species on Earth for a reason. But if you watch the interaction when Dee and Bear are out there, she treats him more like an equal. When it's Dee and David, she has to tell him what to do, but there's an obvious relationship there. And when she's out there with me, she's really brave because she knows I'm not going to back down or run away or leave her out there by herself. I'm sure that they can sense that relationship difference, and that's why she catches more uh, things that are closer to her when Bear is out there rather than anybody else that she's had out there so far. And I want to say yeah, I like it when she goes out there with somebody too. There's certain places where she goes by herself that I don't think she's actually safe. And it's not because of the cryptids, it's because of people. Now, D does carry her friends with her. They're not very strong friends, but they're still friends, and it's because of the people, not because of the cryptids. I think a Bigfoot could come out there all upset, waving a stick at her, and she would never ever pull her pew pew out of her pocket ever to a Bigfoot. But if it was a person that snuck up on her for some stupid reason at nighttime, she'd have that thing in her hand in a second. And like to see I would like to see D go out there with a female. I know the neighbor that used to live next to her went out during the daytime for some day trips, and that's when the first time that she was knocking the sticks together and making music, and they were doing it back to her. I would like to see her take a female out investigating at night. I don't think it's because that she knows it would be pointless to shoot a low powered gun at a Bigfoot or a dog man. It just probably would piss him off. She's not thinking like that at all. She would never shoot a Bigfoot. I think I think she likes cryptids more than she likes most people. It sounds funny, but I believe that to be completely true. That if she had the choice, that she would live with a Bigfoot clan rather than live with a community of people. Yeah, I believe they're curious and evasive and playful. Um, they might be able to sense that I was in the military just because I don't have um, an emotion reaction when something happens, but they've never done anything to test me. They can see that I'm not afraid. They can see that I'm very aware of my surroundings. But that doesn't necessarily make me military. But I was in the military police, and when you do something like that, you have to be thinking about what's around the next corner, where's this, where's that. And you become very aware of your surroundings when you're in the military like that. D is, I don't want to say she's very picky of who she takes out with her. She's very aware that she puts herself in a completely vulnerable situation, and she could not protect you in any way, shape, or form if something goes wrong. And I think that above anything else is why she does not uh, take the average person out to do this, no matter where. Where she goes out to the tower, the water tower, that is what she considers to be her clan. They know her the best. That's where she's been doing it the longest. She trusts those uh, particular clan out there, but she wouldn't take an average person out there because she knows that she's putting herself completely and utterly at risk. Well, good luck at your appointment there, Aussie, and have a wonderful day. I know that it's night here, so it must be day over there. Well, you have a good day too, Gordon, and I'll talk to you later. I know it's an hour and 18 minutes. I I love to talk. It's what I do. But yeah, I'll do some more investigations and sit out in the woods and talk to y'all. And basically, Tina, I have never had an actual encounter yet. I actually want to see one with my own eyes, and it doesn't have to be like a perfect standing still out in the open thing. But if I saw with my own eyes the things that D has seen, I wouldn't have to do this anymore. I'm just trying to prove it to myself, and that would be that. You're a great dude too, Gordon. I'm happy that you're a moderator and all that. If I ever get to actually see a Bigfoot with my eyes, I won't I won't have to do this anymore. And I'm not out to like show anybody else or anything like that. And I don't mind. I like doing the lives because you guys might see something that I missed. And technically, I point the phone in places that I'm not looking. I'm not using the phone to look around so I can see what you can see. I'm pointing the flashlight and I'm pointing the phone where I'm pointing the flashlight, but my head's on a swivel and I'm listening and looking around. And it's not necessary. And the reason I started recording was so I could look in two places at once and I go back and watch my own video. Um, and then I watched a few of Dee's videos and I decided, hey, well, maybe I will put some on the internet. And then I started talking to Dee and I did, and finally I got enough people and enough shorts up there where I could make my own live. And now I just use it so that other people can look where I'm not looking and maybe they can see something. Okay, Tina. I'm it's time for me to go to bed, I guess. It's 12:30 here. But you have a lovely night or day, depending on where you live, and I'll talk to you all later. All right. Bye bye.